In the spiraling chaos consuming Port Charles, new alliances are emerging with chilling precision, none more dangerous than the one forming between Drew and Sidwell. What began as isolated vendettas has grown into a coordinated effort with a singular goal: the utter dismantling of Sunny and Michael's hold on family, power, and perception. The emotional wreckage left in the wake of Sunny's decisions, ranging from his refusal to step back from organized crime to his relentless manipulation of those around him, has spawned a war that now threatens to consume not just the Corinthos empire, but also the lives of innocents caught in the crossfire. In the eye of this storm stands Drew, a man who once positioned himself as a moral compass, now slipping deeper into moral ambiguity for what he insists is a just cause. Restoring Willow's access to her children and breaking the psychological chains that bind her to Michael. But justice, in Drew's view, is beginning to look a lot like revenge. Drew's transformation didn't happen overnight. Bitterness took root the day he realized Michael's grip over Willow was not only emotional but tactical. From Drew's perspective, Michael's calculated efforts to isolate Willow from her children after their separation was a continuation of Sunny's legacy of control. Suffocating, strategic, and justified under the guise of protection. In Drew's eyes, it was never about co-parenting or wellness, it was about domination. With Sunny's recent history, including the abduction of Marco and the aggressive interference in Natalia's final days, Drew found his outrage mirrored in another man equally determined to seek retribution, Sidwell. Though vastly different in background, both men are bound by their shared hatred of the Corinthos name and their desire to reclaim what they see as stolen from them. Drew's first move is layered in both desperation and cold logic. Believing that there is still a sliver of humanity left in Carly, he approaches her with what he labels a final offer: convince Michael to give Willow access to her children and end this quietly. But beneath his composed demeanor lies an unmistakable threat. He isn't merely making a request, he's delivering an ultimatum disguised as diplomacy. Carly, fiercely protective of Michael and skeptical of Drew's intent, sees through the veil. Her refusal isn't merely about loyalty, it's about instinct. She senses the darkness taking hold in Drew and knows yielding now would unleash a chain reaction far worse than Drew's threatened consequences. But her defiance, while noble, only accelerates the machinery of revenge that's already in motion. With no cooperation from Carly, Drew pivots. His next move is one that severs any remnants of the moral high ground he once occupied. He turns to Portia, a woman whose professional integrity is well known, and demands the unthinkable: falsify medical records to indicate that Michael is battling an opiate addiction. The timeline would be carefully crafted, Michael's supposed addiction coinciding with the emotional trauma following Sunny's penthouse bombing. It's not enough to merely paint Michael as unstable, Drew needs him legally unfit to retain custody. For that, the court needs evidence, and Drew is determined to manufacture it. Portia's reaction is visceral. Her entire career, built on healing and ethics, is suddenly reduced to a tool in someone else's revenge plot. The idea of faking medical evidence repulses her, but the threats Drew levels are too real to dismiss. With brutal efficiency, he lays out the consequences. Comply, or risk losing everything: her license, her reputation, even her family. The implication is clear: resistance will bring ruin. In an explosive moment of despair, Portia shatters her framed degree, a symbolic act that marks her descent into the same moral abyss Drew now occupies. Whether she gives in or finds a way to expose the plot remains uncertain, but the damage to her psyche has already been done. Even as Drew manipulates Portia, Sidwell maneuvers his own chess pieces. His vendetta against Sunny isn't simply about personal loss, it's political. He sees in Sunny's fall an opportunity to remake Port Charles, beginning with the dismantling of the Corinthos criminal network and ending with the installation of Ezra Boyle as mayor. A man with questionable loyalties and ample ambition, Ezra would be a figurehead for Sidwell's power grab. To that end, Sidwell and Drew begin sharing intel, each move they make calibrated to destabilize Sunny's control and, by extension, Michael's influence. Their endgame extends far beyond custody battles. It's about legacy, optics, and control of the city's narrative. By portraying Michael as a drug-addled father incapable of caring for his children, and Sonny as an unhinged relic of a violent past, Drew and Sidwell intend to carve out a new structure of power. One built not on trust or law, but on leverage and fear. The legal route is only the beginning. Whisper campaigns about Michael's instability begin circulating in professional circles. Hospital staff begin noticing subtle shifts in Portia's behavior, raising questions that have yet to find answers. And Sonny, distracted by the political ambitions of Ezra and his own deteriorating alliances, is dangerously unaware of how close the noose is tightening. Meanwhile, Willow remains suspended in a haze of emotional confusion. She senses Drew's intensity, his desperation, and somewhere deep down, she understands the cost that might come with his promises. But she is too worn down, too isolated to resist. Her love for her children is being weaponized, and Drew, consciously or not, is exploiting her longing for reunification. She tells him she doesn't want the details, perhaps because she already knows too much. Or perhaps because some part of her is willing to overlook the methods as long as the outcome brings her family back. Curtis, always the quiet observer, begins sensing something isn't right. Portia's mood swings, the tension in her voice, the sudden silences, all signs he can't ignore. His instincts as a former lawman stir back to life, and he begins piecing together the puzzle. But he's also torn. Protecting Portia might mean confronting Drew, a man who once stood beside him in the trenches. Curtis stands at a crossroads, unsure whether to intervene quietly or expose everything, risking fallout that could destroy lives and reputations. As the walls close in, the once clear lines between right and wrong begin to blur. Drew believes he's acting out of love and duty. Portia believes she's protecting her family. Sidwell believes he's restoring justice. But in truth, all of them are orchestrating a slow, brutal descent into chaos. If their plans succeed, Michael will be publicly humiliated, legally disarmed, and personally destroyed. Sonny, weakened by scandal and political attack, will lose his grip over Port Charles. Willow, ironically, may finally be reunited with her children, but at the cost of watching the father of those children crumble in disgrace. But what if they fail? What if Curtis exposes Portia's involvement? What if Carly retaliates with her own maneuverings? What if Michael, forewarned by someone within the system, begins to fight back before the hammer falls? The balance of power is delicate, and the first misstep could unravel everything. What began as an emotional reaction has evolved into psychological warfare. Drew, now consumed by his mission, risks becoming indistinguishable from the very man he seeks to punish. Sidwell, pulling strings from the shadows, grows bolder with each success. And Portia, the unwilling accomplice, stands at the precipice of ruin. The Corinthos dynasty has survived many storms, but this time, the attack is coming from within. And in Port Charles, when love turns to vengeance, no one emerges unscathed.